Different countries adopt different kinds of the economic systems depending upon their history, culture, political philosophy and the economic goals. When it comes in terms of primary sector, all the kinds of the primary activity we call it as a primary sector. As per the population, there must be development of the technology, there must be contribution to the economy. Only then the India can become the developed country. When it comes in terms of the development, so there must be a progress when it comes in terms of the development, quantitatively, qualitatively. Hello everyone, warm welcome to one and all. I am Mr. Hemant Kumar from the Department of Commerce and Management, Vidhyaashram First Aid College, MYSURU, the Temple of Excellence. In today's session, we are going with the subject that is business environment, that is for third semester BBA students. In today's session, we are going with session 1 of unit 2. It's about business environment, that is related to the economic environment. This is the agenda of today's session. We are going with the topics of economic systems, means which are all the economic systems that is available and which economic system that we people are going to follow. Structure of the Indian economy. So what exactly the structure of the Indian economy is, and in the same way which structure of economy that we people are going to follow. Features of the Indian economy. Indian economy consists of its own features that we are going to learn over here, and economic growth and development. Here we are going to see what exactly the economic growth is and what exactly the economic development is. Hence, this is agenda of today's session. Moving forward, introduction to economic system. Here we get to know what exactly the economic system is and how this economic system influences the economy of our country. An economic system is a framework that a society used to organize the production, distribution and consumption of goods and services. So it is a hard framework that is been made, okay, regarding the decisions which is related to the production, distribution and the consumption of goods and services within a specified geographical location within a specified period of time, that is 1 year within that particular geographical location, that is one country. It establishes the rules and mechanisms by which the resource such as land, labor, capital and organization allotted to meet the needs and wants of the population. See, to meet the needs and wants of the population, there are resources that is been allotted. It may be the land, labor, capital and the organization. And followed by the economic systems help answer 3 fundamental questions. And here when it comes in terms of the economic system, so there are 3 questions which we get to know what exactly the answer is. Okay, that question is what to produce, how to produce, for whom to produce. So these are the 3 questions of the economic system. So we get to know what exactly the answer is. So what to produce, how to produce and for whom to produce. Moving forward, economic systems. When it comes in terms of economic system, different countries follow different economic systems, right? Different countries adopt different kinds of the economic systems depending upon their history, culture, political philosophy and the economic goals. So based on the economic goals, based on the political history, based on the culture, based on the tradition, the countries that they are going to adopt the economic systems. Okay, so here further we get to know what exactly the economic systems is. Okay, so the 4 major types of the economic systems are traditional economy, command economy, market economy and mixed economies. Okay, so when it comes in terms of the traditional economy, so what happens is the system which has been followed by the ancestors, which has been followed and ruled by some of the people, which has been followed as a culture, that is been followed as a tradition. So that we call it as a traditional economy. Here even today there are a number of countries which follow this kind of traditional economy. When it comes in terms of a command economy, so it is a special kind of the economy where the government sector is going to undertake all the kinds of the economic activity of the particular country, that we call it as a command economy. Okay, so all the activities in a single hand, that we call it as a command economy. means all the sector, whether it is a production, distribution, warehousing, whatever the sector it is, okay, so whether it is a product sector, whether it is a service sector, okay, so starting from the airplane to the aeroplane, all the things is being manufactured and sold by the public sector. Okay, so that kind of the economy we call it as a command economy. This command economy is also known as the socialistic economy, where all the economic activity of a country is being undertaken by the government, whether it is a state government or the central government. When it comes in terms of the market economy, it is opposite to the command economy. All the economic activities is being undertaken by the private people. There is a complete privatization, there is a complete distribution of the activities, the manufacturing, whether it is a product or the service, all the economic activities which is been undertaken by the private entities, that we call it as a market economy. Market economy is also known as the capitalistic economy. So what happens is, when it comes in terms of a capitalistic economy, all the sectors, so whether it is a production, warehousing, distribution, product sector, service sectors, all the sectors has been undertaken by the private people. Okay, so what happens is, when it comes in terms of command economy, all the sectors has been undertaken by the government. Okay, so that is, there is a clarity with the people saying that, so for which, who is responsible for. Here also, when it comes in terms of a market economy, so there is a clarity of the people saying that, so for which thing or which sector who is responsible for. But when it comes in terms of mixed economy, so it is a combination of both public sector and the private sector. Here in the mixed economy, all the economic activities will be engaged by both public sector and the private sector, that we call it as a mixed economy. Hence, it is a major problem of this mixed economy is there is no proper clarity regarding the handling the particular thing. There are a number of sectors which is being handled by the public and the private sector in the countries like mixed economy. The best example for this command economy or the socialistic economy is China. Starting from the schools, hospitals or the houses and whatever the property, whatever the economic activity which is going to happen, it will be completely owned, controlled and ruled by the government. The China is the best example for this command economy. When it comes in terms of the market economy, so USA, UK, Russia, German, Japan, these are all the kinds of the developed countries are the example for the market economy or the capitalistic economy, because all the sectors is being completely controlled, ruled and owned by the private people. Done. So when it comes in terms of mixed economy, our India is the best example for mixed economy, because here we can notice a number of entities which is being owned and controlled by the public sector and also by the private sector. Here command economy, so as I said, owned by the government. So government regulations and pricing control. Okay, see what happens is, when it comes in terms of the command economy, the price of a product, the price of a service, okay, so whatever the service should be rendered, whatever the product should be sold, the production, distribution, warehousing, okay, so all the activities will be undertaken by the government, whether it is a central government or the state government, owned by the government regulation regarding the pricing, distribution, okay, so allotment and all those things, and also the decisions related to the pricing of the product. So here the decisions are not based on the demand and supply product, it is already been planned in the economic systems. So whatever the goods that is been manufactured, okay, so they are not supposed to manufacture the goods or services as per their wish, as per the instruction of the government. All the things will be regulated by the government. One thing I would like to share regarding this command economy, when it comes in terms of command economy, all the sectors is been undertaken by the government. It is a well-defined economy, that I can say, because all the decisions will be made by the government. Hence, there is a complete clarity regarding what to do, what not to do. So as I gave you the example, so there are economic problems, okay, what to produce, how to produce and for whom to produce. So it is going to give the complete clarity regarding the question. Okay, so what to produce, okay, how they are going to produce and for whom they are going to produce. The government is going to give the answer for all the questions. In the socialistic economy, the government hospitals of these kinds of countries, means the countries which had adopted the command economy, is equivalent to the multi-speciality hospitals in the developed countries. So you just imagine the condition of the people or the inhabitants, and in the same way, if they want to take the treatment free of cost, If they want to take the education free of cost when it come in terms of command economy. But here when it come in terms of the market economy, the free of cost education is not there, and in the same way free of cost hospital facility is not available, because all the things, all the decisions, the major decisions of the economy, what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce, will be taken by the private people. Means again this sector is also will be full of the clarity, means for which sector who is responsible for. Except defense and manufacture of currency notes, all the sectors is been undertaken by the private people. Okay, means only two sectors is been undertaken by the government. Okay, so here there is a clarity okay, regarding the belongingness, regarding the responsibilities. Okay, so hence I can say that it is also a well defined economy as a command economy, means owned by the private sectors or the private people or the private entities. Freedom to start business, means they are going to they can start the business as per the competition. They are going to supply the product, produce the product as per the demand and supply concept. Supply and demand, they are going to follow the supply and demand, means price will be fixed based on the supply and demand. Means the answer for the question what to produce, how to produce, for whom to produce will be made by the private people based on the demand and supply of the product. And when it come in terms of a mixed economy, okay, so it is not at all a market economy, and also it is not at all a command economy. It is a combination of both, that is market economy and command economy. Here when it come in terms of mixed economy, as I said, India is the best example for mixed economy. So in mixed economy, there are certain sectors which is owned by the private people, and there are certain sectors that is being owned by the public. Okay, and also here there are certain sectors where there is a freedom for sale of the product and to start up the new business when it come in terms of a developing country like India. And also there are few sectors which will be completely undertaken by the government. Okay, so and in the same way this acts based on the demand and supply, means few sectors act on the basis of the demand and supply. Say for example, the price of the onion and tomato keep on changing from one time to another time on the basis of demand and supply. Okay, so on the basis of the demand, the supply is going to happen. Okay, so based on that they are going to fix the price. But when it come in terms of the public sector, okay, so there are certain products, the price will be fixed by the government. Okay, so hence I mean to say that okay, this mixed economy is a combination of both market economy and command economy. Structure of Indian economy. So the structure of the Indian economy is being classified into three sectors: primary sector, secondary sector, and tertiary sector. Here we are going to learn what exactly the primary sector is, secondary sector, and followed by tertiary sector. The structure of the Indian economy refers to the composition and the contribution of the different sectors, primary, secondary, and tertiary, in terms of GDP. So what exactly these kind of the sectors had given the contribution to our GDP? Employment and development. So not only we are going to consider the gross domestic product, but also we are going to consider employment and development of the nation. Understanding this structure helps in analyzing the resource are allotted, how income is generated, and how the economy evaluates over the time. Okay, so what happens is, so as I said, this kind of the structure, okay, so we get a complete clarity. Okay, so regarding the contribution of these kind of sectors. When it comes in terms of primary sector, all the kinds of the primary activity, we call it as a primary sector. See, it may be agriculture, whether it may be a forestry, it may be a mining, or it may be fishery or animal husbandry, cattle rearing. All these kinds of the primary activity, we call it as a primary industry, okay, or primary sector. Okay, all the kinds of the first activity, okay, which is going to happen in a primary sector. When it comes in terms of a secondary industry or the secondary sector, all the kinds of conversion of raw materials into finished product. Okay, so that call it as a secondary industry. All the kinds of the manufacturing units are the best example for the secondary industry, right? So what happens is, how exactly we get the raw materials from the primary sector. Say for example, okay, so we are going to manufacture, okay, book. Okay, we are going to manufacture book. What happens? The raw materials, it is a bamboo or any things that is used to preparation of a book. Okay, so what happens? Primary sector is going to grow the raw material, that is bamboo, which is being transformed to secondary sector. Okay, it is going to convert raw material, that is bamboo, into finished product, that is book. Okay, that sector we call it as a secondary sector. Okay, the sector which convert the raw materials into finished product, that we call it as a secondary sectors. All the kinds of the cottage industry, all the kind of the small scale industry, all the kinds of the large scale industry, all the kinds of the micro industries are the example for secondary sectors, which used to convert the raw materials into finished product, or I can say all the kinds of the manufacturing unit is the example for the secondary industry or the secondary sector. When it comes in terms of tertiary sector, all the kinds of the service sectors are the example for the tertiary sectors. Say for example, health sector, that is hospital, education, schools and colleges. When it comes in terms of automobile, all the kinds of the transportation and the trade activities which is going to happen, even it is also kind of the service sectors. All the kinds of ITs and the BTs are the examples for this tertiary sector. When it comes in terms of the contribution that is given to our economy, when it comes in terms of the contribution that is been given by different kinds of sector to our economy, when it comes in terms of the primary sector, this sector had given around 80% of the contribution as per the 2025, okay, census. Okay, so 18% of the contribution for our GDP. But more than 50% of the people of our country is engaged in primary activity. Okay, whether it is a cattle rearing, whether it is agricultural activities. Okay, so more than 50% of the population are engaged in this kind of the activity, but the productivity for the GDP is only 18%. That is from the primary sector. And when it comes in terms of the secondary sector, around 30 to 35% of the population is being engaged in the secondary industry, means conversion of raw materials into finished goods or the finished product. Okay, so or product based companies that I can say. Okay, 25 to 30% of the population which give contribution to our economy around 25 to 30%. Okay, so it give the 25 to 30% of the GDP of our nation, where around 25 to 30% of the people is being engaged in this kind of the secondary activity. When it comes in terms of the tertiary sector, it is going to give around 50% of the GDP. Okay, it hold around 50% of the GDP of our country, that is tertiary sector. The complete GDP is completely dependent on what? The tertiary sector, the technology. Okay, so the service sector, the schools, hospitals, okay, trade activities, okay, transportation, okay, so products and services. Okay, so what happens is around 25 to 30% of the people are engaged in this kind of activity. It is going to give around 25 to 30%. We won't feel bad actually. Okay, so around 20% of the people are engaged in this kind of the activity, but it is going to give 50% of the productivity to our country, means it is a kind of the contribution. Okay, so that is an appreciable thing that I can say. But when it comes in terms of the primary sector, that is agriculture, cattle rearing, regarding this. Okay, so we may feel bad because 50% of the people or 50% of the total population of our country is totally dependent on agriculture. But how about the productivity? It is going to contribute only 18% to our GDP. Means if we develop this sector, okay, so the government had formulated many kinds of the schemes for the benefit of the farmers, but there are a number of people who doesn't even aware of these all things. Okay, so if we support this sector, that is primary sector, it may become the reason for the development of our country. Okay, because it is going to give only 18% of our GDP. Okay, so that is the thing. Okay, primary sector is completely about the first sector or the first activity which is going to happen. Okay, or the agricultural activity that I can see. When it comes in terms of secondary sector, conversion of raw materials into finished goods, all the kinds of the industries that is available in the secondary sector. Okay, whether it is a micro industry, cottage industry, small scale, large scale, okay, all the kinds of industry. So tertiary sector, all the kinds of the service sector. So starting from the schools and colleges, from the ITBTs, okay, all the service sectors are the example for this tertiary industry or the tertiary sectors. Hence, this is the economic structure of our country. Features of Indian economy. So when it comes in terms of features of Indian economy, okay, so there are certain features which is different from other countries, whether it is a developed country and developing country. So before going to this concept, okay, let me say when it comes in terms of the structure of the economy, okay, so the economy structure is been also classified into three categories: underdeveloped country, developed country, developing country. Okay, so there are three categories of things that is been classified actually. All the countries which can fulfill all the needs of the people, which had reached the economic standard, that countries we call it as a developed country. The countries which is yet to reach the economic standard of the nation, that we call it as a developing country. The countries which is not capable of reaching the economic standards, that countries we call it as a underdeveloped countries. So when it comes in terms of feature of Indian economy, low per capita income. When it comes in terms of per capita income, the name itself, it is going to say that it is an individual income in a economy. See what happens, our India total population is around 145 to 150 crores today, that is in 2025. What happens is, so there is no equal distribution of the income in the population. So we are going to calculate per capita income. It is about the total income of the nation divided by the total population. We get to know the total per capita income. So today the total per capita income in 2025 in our country is 9,585 rupees. Okay, 9,585 rupees. Just imagine the condition, the total population of India. We are the top most populated country in the world. Okay, we hold around 18% of the population of the world population. Okay, so among which we are going to earn only 9,585 rupees. Okay, so per person. There are number of people who are unemployment. There are number of people who earn 10 lakh rupees of salary. There are number of people who earn 5,000 or 10,000 rupees of salary. There are number of people who earn a salary of 1 lakh rupees, 2 lakh rupees, and these all things. So varieties of things which is going to happen, among which we divide the total capital into total number of population. So we get to know per capita income, okay, is 9,500. Okay, so when compared to the per capita income of the developed countries, our per capita income is lower. Okay, so that is a negative aspect of our economy when it comes in terms of agro-based economy. So when it comes in terms of agro-based economy, okay, so our economy is completely based on agriculture. Okay, so more than 50% of inhabitants of our country is totally dependent on agriculture. But how about the contribution? They are going to contribute only 18% to our GDP. Okay, so there is a reason for the deflation of our economy. Next one, overpopulation. Okay, so when it comes in terms of the population, decade to decade, there is a gradual increase of 20% of population in our country. 20%, one decade to another decade. Each and every 20 years, there is a 20% of each and every 10 years, there is a 20% of growth of population in our country. So, which lead for the deflation of economy of our country. Okay, so today, India is first largest populated country. Okay, but when it comes in terms of world population, it hold around 18% of the world population. See, so the thing is, so I mean to say that as per the population, there must be development of the technology, there must be contribution to the economy. Only then the India can become the developed country. So this is one of the reason for the downfall of the economy of our country. Disparities in income. So what happens is, so there is a disparity when it comes in terms of income of our country. What happens is there are a number of people, one who could not able to fulfill their basic requirements. Okay, so there are a number of people who earn crores together. There are a number of people or waged people who take the salary of 10 or 12,000 rupees. There are a number of people who take the salary of 50,000, 1 lakh rupees, 2 lakh rupees. Okay, so there is a improper distribution of the income in our country. See, what happens is, so it may be the reason for the downfall of the economy of our country. Just I will say, according to the survey of 2025, 1% of the population of our country hold 50% of wealth of our country. Just imagine the condition or the situation. Okay, only 1% of the population of our country hold 50% of the wealth of our country. So this is the actual thing I need to say. Okay, so this is the evidence to say there is no proper distribution of wealth in our country, appropriate distribution of wealth in our country. Including this 1%, totally 10% of population of our country hold 78% of wealth. Okay, 78% of wealth of our country. But how about 90% of population, which is going to earn only 22% of wealth of our country? So this is a major problem of our economy. Okay, so there is no proper distribution of wealth. Downfall in capital formation. So when it comes in terms of the capital formation, the activity that people are going to engage, that is economic activity, so that has been coming down day by day. Poor infrastructural development. When it comes in terms of the development of infrastructure in our country, so whether it is electricity, whether it is a water supply, so whether it is a basic requirement, whether it is a housing facility for the people, okay, when compared to developed country, India is downward. Okay, so when it comes in terms of poor infrastructure development, the basic thing that I would like to say is there are number of villages where there is no proper electricity supply. There are number of villages, okay, so there is no proper availability of the drinking water, which is not potable for drinking. Okay, so there are number of villages, okay, so where there is no proper housing facility for the people. Okay, so this is the major problem of our country. Imperfect market. The market condition is not stable in today's generation. Okay, so the market condition of our country is not at all in a stable. There is a imperfection in the market condition. So economic growth and development. So here we get to know what exactly the economic growth and development is. Okay, so economic growth is different, economic development is completely different. Okay, so when it comes in terms of economic growth, means a increase in the total output of goods and services in a country over a time. Okay, so there is a actual increase in the total output of a country, that we can call it as a economic growth. It is usually measured by the rise in gross domestic product. See, when the gross domestic product increases, so there is a development, I can say. Okay, so if the GDP decreases, okay, so there is no development, or there is a fall in the development of the economy, that I can say. Growth shows how much the economy had expanded, but does not consider whether the benefits are shared equally or if people's quality of life has been improved. Means here it is going to say about the quantity, not about the quality. Means it may give the number of goods that is been manufactured and distributed in terms of a quantity, not in terms of lifestyle, in terms of quality, the development of infrastructure in terms of quality. So it is only about the quantity, not about quality. It is regarding the economic growth. Okay, so the growth is always measured in terms of quantity. So growth is equal to more production and income. So what happens? So we are going to manufacture more product. So simple criteria actually. Okay, so what happens if we manufacture more goods, more services, we are going to export for the foreign country. It is a kind of revenue. So if we import the goods, it is a kind of the expenditure. So if we want more revenue for the development of our economy, we are supposed to export more product and take the revenue. And when it comes in terms of economic development is a wider and the deeper concept. So here, as I said, it is quantitative measurement, which one? The economic growth. When it comes in terms of economic development, it is a broader concept. It is very hard to define it. Okay, it includes the economic growth, but also looks the improvements in the standard of living. So as I said, okay, so earlier we were only measuring the regarding the growth, that is quantitatively, but here we are going to consider both quantity and quality, right? It may be healthcare, education, reduction of poverty and the income equality. So if we solve this kind of problem, our country can become the developed country. Okay, they are going to consider the quality of health care, so these things, and also reduction of the poverty and the quality of the lifestyle of the people and the development of the infrastructure in our country. If we consider these all things with the productivity, okay, then we can say India is developed country. Development means overall progress in the economy and the well-being of the population. Okay, so what happens when it come in terms of the development? So there must be a progress when it come in terms of the development, quantitatively, qualitatively. Done. So development is equal to growth plus better living conditions for people, okay, or the population, that I can say. So I repeat, growth plus better living conditions for people, okay, that we call it as a development. Growth and development, I repeat, when it come in terms of a growth, okay, growth is only measured in terms of the quantity, means the quantity of the goods that is being produced in the economy, the quantity of the goods that is being sold in the economy, or the quantity of the goods that is being exported, okay, quantitatively. But when it come in terms of this development, quantity plus quality is a combination of both of things. In the next session, we are going with the banking structure of India, followed by the economic planning in India, meaning of the terms inflation, GDP, exchange rate, per capita income, followed by population growth rate. So these are the topics that we need to cover, followed by fiscal policy and monetary policy. Here we are going to see the difference between the fiscal policy and monetary policy. Thank you.